Well, howdy, y'all. Welcome to another high-powered episode of the High Voltage Live Show. We have the King back this week. I'm your host, Willie Snyder, coming to you live from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. And I'm joined by the King. He is back. Awesome to have you back, King James Stallcup, over there at the Stallcup Electrical Education channel. And it's pretty awesome that you're able to put another one together. Like I say, I apologize to everyone. Usually when King James doesn't do anything, it's really hard for me to put anything together. I don't really have any guests lined up and everything, but we already have Mr. E, David Englehart, the deathmatch champion in the house, and he is giving a shout out to all the NEC nerds out there. So I have to say I'm one of them, and I'm nerding out all the time there, David. So
hey, David, next week I'll get a hold of you. I'll DM you. I'm busy right now. I'm having to take care of Daddy-O, and I've been going back and forth to doctor's visits, everything, and I've got him. Went to a doctor appointment today. We were there for about 5 hours.
Yeah, that's awesome, David. Appreciate the prayers out there.
And then I've got to go to another one tomorrow. And then this weekend, they're taking him, not because he's hurting or anything, but they're putting him in the hospital because they think he's still got some AFib. So they just want to put him in and put all the gadgets on him, everything, and check him. Then he's got 2 more doctor's appointments because you got to remember he was on medication and stuff, and they're having to toy with his medications and everything because of the infection and everything. So he's got a lot of specialists and stuff, and I'm the one that's looking out for him. So I'll be probably be Wednesday next week, somewhere in there, because I'm gonna be busy for 5 days. Just it's been like a 2-week thing, just having to watch after him. So, and of course I'm sort of like his primary care because I'm having to go in about every 2 hours and check on him and check his blood pressure. I mean, they're still having me check everything and all of that. So anyway, nice. That's where I'm at. I just want everybody, thanks for all the prayers and everything. And
yeah, and it's really awesome that you're back and ready for some discussion. Really awesome. We have just such a blast doing this show, and so much fun doing it. So you can go check out the Learn Worlds for yourself. So go check out that Stallcup publication. You have it online, and then you still have a bunch of publications out there too.
We have links that go over if you want the hard copy or if you want the online. It seems like everybody wants the online because they can pull it up when they're on the job and stuff. So
true.
I honestly hadn't worked the last 2.5 weeks because I've been dealing with Dad, but we're working on all the online stuff, and it's just Dad threw a wrench and everything. Oh, what the hell's wrong with him?
Well, we were talking. I didn't really say anything. I was like, man, I think all these code making panel are giving him the heart trouble, and
Yeah,
he keeps looking at all the code changes, and that's where he's having heart problems from.
probably. I don't know, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, you talked to him last night, when I got
yeah.
back, I had to go get him some stuff and come back, and he's mainly all he does is he's sitting in his chair in his room. He's got this vibrating chair that does some massaging and stuff, and he pretty much just stays in there, watches the B Western movies and Netflix. And I go in about every couple hours, check on everything, and then I'll make him something for lunch and something for dinner, take it back there. So I've been fixing him a lot of different soups and everything.
Oh yeah, and I did mention to King James that I did put it out there last week's podcast that you're going to be getting in contact with David Englehart. He's probably sitting there like, let's get that money going there.
Yeah, that's coming. I mean, I'm just dealing with him. I mean, I can't go anywhere. I can't leave him alone right now. And, and my brother, he did come over one day and help, but he just, they're not helping, and he lives with me. So naturally, I guess they just feel since he lives with me, it's my responsibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so yeah, I just sent that over to David Englehart to let him know that you'd be getting in touch with them after all this stuff. So I think that's what he means by that comment.
Yeah, it
Observe
won't
the
be long.
after live
It's
comment.
just a slow process right now dealing with all this, and it was
Yeah,
one.
I'm gonna have to look at that comment, David. I don't think I saw it. I'll have to go back in there. I didn't look, so I probably missed it. I apologize.
Oh, I think I did see it because I was at the hospital when that took place, and I was looking at my Facebook and stuff, and I saw uh, I had a link that was out to do it, and you did another link that you did it on, and you didn't go on the link that I'd put together for you real quick.
Yeah, it was my fault because the reason why was because I sent Chad German the link that I made because the one that you had wasn't up yet. I couldn't find it yet, so I just made my own. And when I went in there, I saw yours, and I was like, "Oh, dang it!" But that was my bad. I screwed it up. So if it ever gets messed up, point the finger back at me because King James he does a lot of work behind the scenes and he does a lot of good stuff, and I just come in there and just run a bulldozer right through it and mess it all up. So
Do, do,
there we
do, do,
go.
do, 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 do.
Let's
All
let's
right.
get let's get Daniel in here.
You want to throw down the meme of the week real quick?
Let's do it.
All right.
So it's really funny because I found this one that it was like one of the groups. I think it was on Electrical Wall of Shame, and it shows all the different hands, and the electricians one's the cleanest. But I
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna make one where the electricians wear gloves and everyone else is not. So
I
that was
I
pretty
saw
funny.
something somebody had sent me. Trump signed something. I don't know what it was, but he lowered and got rid of the strict regulations on the AC people on the refrigerant.
Oh
Did
wow,
you see that?
I
And
didn't.
I think the way I was understanding it, the stuff they have them use and all of that, they're going to go back to the old refrigerant, and you won't have to put as much in like they have been, and it'll actually make everything colder using the type of refrigerant we used to use, back in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
Is the way I
Yeah, there was
understood the
something with the
article.
environment or something. I think they
Yeah,
said.
yeah, he
So
said, "No, we ain't doing that." So that
nice.
apparently that'll knock down uh, probably the cost of the Freon because they're not having to go through all this special mixtures and all of that will raise the price. It's sort of like, say you're in California and they had the restrictions. They had a special gas, that mixture they used, and it made it cost more. It's stuff like that, and I think that's what they're talking about, and they're getting rid of that. So
Nice. Well, I didn't really get a chance to talk to you too much about the myth of the week, but it was basically based on um, there was some site specific specs that we had on some of the job sites.
mhm.
And a lot of times when we have those, a lot of people don't understand them that kind of the way they're set up. So want to roll the myth of the week?
Let's roll it.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
All right, so this is kind of my baby that I came up with this week, and I kind of blindsided King James a little bit with it, but it was kind of funny because this was actually out on the job site, and I saw it, and I'm like, man, this is a perfect representation of what we run into, and this is kind of like really the only way that I could actually do this the way that it's set up because what it does is it goes from that Myers style hub to like a GRC fitting, and then it goes to a flex connector. So that was like literally the only way. I could have probably did like maybe a short section of you know rigid, and then did a transition to EMT up in the air. But this is outside, so there's really nothing you could really do. And I reaped that fitting on purpose just to pop that gasket out, just to kind of show people what could happen when you're just kind of you're not even there's no reason to even have the gasket on there. And so it's kind of a rough thing that we run into with this. And a lot of guys say, oh yeah, it's required, and you'll get into some of these arguments that I kind of mentioned to you the brief time that I talked to you over the phone about it. And I know you were busy with dad and everything like that. But when the one that's in the back actually has it's just like the regular rain type fitting. I don't see anything wrong with that. And then if you're like above energized parts, obviously you're going to have to probably put like a ceiling lock ring on there. Um, and then in my setup, like we're just doing like the 12208 volt to the equipment. The one in the back is actually for like low voltage or limited energy. I got to get all the terms right. Limited energy. So you have limited energy in the back, then you have line voltage in the front. And I just felt this was like the best way I could do it, even though technically I would still say this is a code violation because that Myers style hub is designed for rigid threads. So this is one of the things that we've always brought up. It's like, which kind of code violation do you want? Where do you want me to put it? To me, I obviously think this helps the integrity of the interior of the cabinet because you're really not going to have any real bad leakage through that Myers hub, and it's making a good seal at the cabinet. So that was kind of my best solution that I could think of, but I know that you're gonna have some stuff to go with like bonding and stuff,
Yeah,
and I don't know. To me, honestly, it's hard for me to think of like bonding coming into this unless you were using the um, you know EMT as a grounding path, because we're
hmm
pulling a full size ground through there. So that's always been, and that could even cause another myth to kind of pop up in the future that like do you have to have a continuously solid ground path when you're pulling a full size ground through there?
Well, when you brought it up to me, the first thing I was saying, well, yeah, there's rules that we're going to look at there, and up until the 2026 code, it was 312.2. Now it's 312.4. But I said it's one thing. Matter of fact, we'll just go over and I'll just show it as I go through and explain all this. So when you go, and the first thing that I asked you was what type of enclosure. That was the first question I asked, because when you come over and look at this just gets into enclosures. And when you go back and you look at the question that was asked, it was into a cabinet. Okay. So that was the first thing I wanted to know more than anything. And it tells you where you have these weatherproof enclosures here. What it's going to tell you is when you have a damp or wet location, the surface type enclosures within the scope of this article, which is 312, shall be placed or equipped such that moisture or water is prevented from any entering or accumulating within the cabinets or cutout boxes, and mounted so there's at least a 1/4 inch airspace, blah, 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 for all of that. Okay. So then you come down and you look at the raceways or cable that is above live parts. Okay. And that's why I was asking what type of enclosure were the live parts, because there's certain things that you're going to want to look at. So here it's going to tell you where you have these enclosures that are in wet locations, the raceways or cables entering above the level of the uninsulated live part shall use fittings that are listed for wet locations, which is where you'll go back and look at 110.3B.
True. And the other thing is that I think this is kind of like a little bit of a gray area, because these cabinets that we're wiring up, they're owned by a utility provider. So you could make the argument that the code stops right at that cabinet.
Are they being used? Well, let me ask this. Does the utility own the cabinet?
Yes.
That's utility then.
I agree. But that's where I kind of like to bring up this argument, because a lot of times you have this kind of gray area where people are like, nope, it's got to pass code. It's got to pass code,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just kind of one of those things that I like to kind of bring up, and, just basically kind of say, like, where is the fine line on this? And it's hard, because if I would have, let's just say I would have used that MEYERS style hub, then I would have came up with RMC, and then I would have transitioned to EMT, then that would have been technically a code violation to go from the RMC to EMT.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point in that system, I'm going to have a code violation.
Sure. And one of the other things that when we were talking about it.
Oh, there he is. He's showing up for the quiz. He wants some blood. He wants some fresh blood of King James.
He missed me. He knows he missed me.
Oh, got the old Jaws coming in.
I did have to take and watch after Daddy though. So
yeah. Family is more important than a podcast. So
and Bill talked to him last night. He was in good spirits. I mean, he's doing better, but he still got some of that AFib. So we gotta check on him.
Right.
All right. Now, one of the other things that when Bill and I were talking about, I said, well, now you got to be careful a lot of times too, because there's certain rules when you're at the service, and then when you get to where you have bonding that's over 250 volts to ground. And I said, you need to go over and look at that, because there's certain things you're going to use over. And even if you got something that's rain tight, going to prevent it and all that, you got to make sure that that's set up, and you're making sure that the equipment is still bonded in. And the very first one where it talks about the electrical continuity of service equipment, it tells you may have to go over and look at 250.8A to make sure that you bond everything in if you're using some type of connector that is not providing the bonding that's required at that service. And especially if you're getting on the, well, if it's on the utility side, they're not going to look at this anyway. But it's things like this that you look at, and making sure that you're using the exact type that is for the wiring method that you're going to install. And then you got to make sure that it's all bonded in and everything. So you got requirements here for methods of bonding at the service. And then you've got requirements also here where it's over 250 volts to ground.
Yeah, and I could kind of see your angle why you're asking me what kind of cabinet and stuff. And it's really interesting because a lot of these, so this particular one that I took a picture of, what we're doing is technically those conductors are feeders. So what we're doing is we're feeding from a breaker in the building. We're sub feeding basically a panel, a sub panel inside the equipment. And then that's actually almost like a little mini distribution panel inside that cabinet. So it's really interesting just because, to me, honestly, in my mind, the R code stops right at the edge of that cabinet. The minute that you hit that cabinet, if they don't like it, then you got to fix it. I mean, it doesn't matter what the code says.
Well, that's where you get to your point of demarcation.
Yeah.
And that's utility owned. That's why the first thing I asked is because it was that utility owned, because they own the equipment and they're the ones responsible for that equipment. And you're not. And they may tell you to use certain type connectors anyways for their equipment. They'll say, we don't care what the code says. That's our equipment.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things is and so we kind of got into this a little bit of an argument too between some of the guys that I work with. And, one of the interesting things is that breaker that is it's essentially like a main breaker for that sub panel. He's like, that's got to be bolted in. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, because those cabinets come out factory assembled.
Yeah.
So if they don't put a breaker bolt on it, it doesn't matter what the code says. You don't want that thing flying off under load or whatever, but really they're probably determining there's not that much load on those cabinets. And I was kind of under the impression that they put that breaker bolt in just for the AIC and stuff.
I'll tell you a good example of something I saw one time. I was out past Oakland. I forget the name of the area there, and I think it was Conoco, if I'm not mistaken. But they had a utility cabinet out there, and they actually had a free hanging bus bar that was in there, and they never wanted to get in there to work on it. And the reason is because something happened in there, the type of explosion it would cause, because we used to take, and especially when I was teaching for NFPA, we'd have pictures of all these different bus bars that were all bolted together and everything. And you would see how the bus bar would bend and turn and everything from a big arc. And you look at something out there like that, it was an older piece of equipment, and they custom made it out there apparently for this one plant. And it was just hanging in the air. I'd say about 2 foot of it. And it actually came down 3 bars, and they were hanging there, and they were showing me pictures of it. I said, I wouldn't get in there and work on that. I'd be nervous because something happened that's just going to blow apart. And so those are different things that you look at, and the way that they were set up is the way that conductors it came in. They were going in feeding another building, and everything was set up there, and it was run underground, and it was an open bottom uh, 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 piece of equipment. So therefore, there wasn't any connectors or anything there. It was just all open bottom. So
Wow.
there's things like that you look at when you get out in the field. You'll see some crazy ass stuff.
Yeah. Well, and like I say, you have that number 4 listed fittings, and that's where we kind of run into this kind of gray area that, is this a listed style fitting? Can I call it that?
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why I brought it up, because if you look even at the end of this, when it gets into over 250 votes, what's the last requirement there? Listed fittings.
Yeah.
And then you come back over here, and then you see the last one here for methods of bonding at the service. It says other listed devices, and then it talks about your bonding type lock nuts bushings, or your bushings that have bonding jumpers.
Right.
But regardless, if you're not using any of those, they're going to refer you back to 250.8A. Now you look at it, is that you come from the utility own cabinet there, and you're going over by your code. If you're going to pick up air, you got to make sure all that's bonded in and everything. And if you're not using one of those type of fittings that are permitted, you got to employ the type of bonding requirements that are in 250.8A.
Yeah, and to me, honestly, I think that's going to be kind of interesting for me to go into in the future and kind of ask you, about this. If we're not using a listed style fitting and we pull a full size ground, is it really an issue? I mean, we technically don't have that mechanical continuity,
You gotta
but
have it.
it's just it's really interesting because you wonder, like, are we gonna push in the future to have more of these listed style transition fittings so that we can use a rain tight fitting and somehow connect to a flex inside that cabinet? Because that was the only way I could see doing it.
It was sort of funny because when you were bringing it up, and I said, well, you got to look at this too. And you're like, what? Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess I didn't really think about the service angle of it. And I wasn't, because most of these cabinets that we're doing are branch circuits.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing a branch circuit. But what happens is these cabinets that are outdoors, they have to put like an AC unit on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to have all kinds of cooling on it. And so that's where it comes in with the sub panel, because they have to have some kind of distribution for that AC door that goes on it.
That's why I was asking you right off the bat. I said, what type of cabinet is it? And I said, what voltage? And,
true. And it's 12208
to look at. That's why I'm saying there's it's a broad statement, and there's a lot of other things. Going back to how many times we said this, you have to use the code as a whole.
Yeah, 100%.
Another good example right here.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, that's what's funny is, Weedman's always saying, like, we are ignoring the codes, but it's like, if it doesn't apply, then it's not ignoring it. It just doesn't apply. You know, like, why would I worry about bonding, over 250 volts when it's a feeder that's 208 volt.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't apply. It's not being ignored.
Well, it's like I got home late last night when I was talking to you, and then I got to working on all this last night, and I actually had some time. I was like, finally, I get to freaking rest, and I was just went and got my recliner and everything, started putting everything together. Well, I went ahead and looked at some of the comments on the myth of the week, and was reading what's there, and people were referencing this. They were actually referencing 312.2, but none of them got into any of this. They didn't think about this stuff.
And essentially you have the 110.3B that those fittings are not listed to be an assembly together.
Yeah.
And, like I say, typically, I think what's coming down the pike soon is I think they're going to come out with some EMT rain tight fittings that have both threads on them and
Yeah.
different kinds of stuff like that to where it's actually been tested. Because that's the biggest thing is EMT connector has not been tested to be threaded into anything.
That's right. It has.
So, like, if you look at that back picture on there, that one has been tested to do what it's doing. It's been tested to have that gasket on the cabinet. It's been tested to have, like, all that's been tested. That's 100% legal. But that is just a raceway entering the cabinet. On mine, we actually have a flexible connection that connects to a sub panel inside there.
Sure.
And it makes it difficult because I'm like, I don't know what kind of transition fitting would be legal in that situation.
Yeah.
And so, if I was, maybe to do that EMT connector directly into the cabinet and then put the GRC coupling in there, it's still a code violation. And I don't think you'd have a good enough seal. I don't really trust that GRC fitting inside the cabinet with just a regular EMT, because basically you're actually supporting that. You're off the threads with that MEYERS hub. At least the RMC, the GRC coupling, and the MEYERS hub are the same threads, so they're making a good tight bond coming into that cabinet. So I don't know. To me, it's kind of interesting. I didn't know which way to go on this one, but I just thought it kind of needed to be addressed, and that people always enjoy it. Like, I've had people come up to me and just say, "Man, that was a really good myth," and I'm just like, "Right on, I appreciate it." So and they always like how you kind of go in depth and kind of go over the different things and bring up, like, if this is over energized parts, it's a tricky deal. I mean, the thing is that if you go through with the magnifying glass, you could find a lot of code violations in what we do just every day. And a lot of guys out there say, "Oh, the code's just the minimum." Well, when I hear that statement, that's somebody telling me I don't know what the minimum is.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, like, you have to first know what the minimum is, then you can exceed it or do better than that or whatever. So I really appreciate you putting it together as far as that bonding and everything, because I think that's going to be coming down really soon as far as, this whole entire argument and how we comply. And like I say, like we've said a million times, not just comply with one code, comply with the whole code as a whole.
That's right.
And if there's things that don't apply, they're not being ignored. They just don't apply.
Well, you know how I am. I always got extra.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right.
So,
well, that's good enough of the week.
That was awesome, brother. I appreciate you putting that together.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's roll it on to topic of the week.
Nice.
All right, I'm back, folks. Finally.
Nice.
Now we get
King is back.
Now, one of the things as we get in this, we're going to look at some changes that took place in Article 300, but a majority of a lot of things that we're going to show, we did a whole bunch of illustrations on, is Article 305. And when you get into Article 305, what that is, that's going to be your wiring methods and materials where you have systems rated over 1,000 volts AC and 15,000 volts DC. Now, the reason I'm sort of pointing that out is because they basically when you get in and you start looking at that, you're going to see a lot of the same requirements that you would see in Article 300. Okay. So anyway, when you go over and you look at 300.4C, now what they did here, these are your limitations, but this is where they get in, and the whole subsection they put in is completely new, and this is where they are discussing and talking about damaged conductors and wiring methods. So what they tell you, and this should have just been common sense in my opinion, but it's in there. But what they're basically going to tell you is where you have these conductors and wiring methods, they're basically telling you they are no longer suitable for use due to what? You have damage to them, such as you could have where the conductor's overheated, there was fire damage to the conductor, there was corrosive type influences to it, or it had been subject to water. If it had any of that type of damage to it, guess what? It has to be replaced. Okay.
Yeah, and
I know that sounds stupid, but
yeah, like they that sounds like one of the questions that one of my apprentices would ask. Is it still suitable for use? No, dude. Not even close, bro.
well, what we tried to do is show some different type wiring methods there. And one of the places that you see where you get a lot of water damage mainly. And that is really important. And where you see a lot of it is right at LBs and stuff. I've seen a lot in those areas. And the worst part about it, and we like to show, because a lot of times when they set those up, they'll do splicing right there. And we wanted to point that out. And you'll see that we set up even where they have pull points and stuff, and we give you a few extra sections to look at. And then we also tell you to go review 90.2 to tie this in with 300.15. Okay.
Nice.
So, you know, once again, using the code as a whole. So,
yeah. And my advice for apprentices out there is a lot of these apprentices need to just shut up and listen, because if you just shut up and listen, eventually you're going to get your question answered without having to ask. Like, to me, I don't mind like dumb questions, but it's like if you are asking a question that you could have just shut up and listened, then it's like you could have answered your own question. So
sure you could have.
that's
And,
my advice.
you know, and what we try to do when we're putting all this together is to give you a good look at exactly the things that you're going to see out in the field, and stuff's there. So we try, like we take this illustration and we're showing you some of the different types where you're seeing these screws come from metal roofing and the damage that it. I mean, how many times before they started putting these rules in, you'd see them take them screws and they go straight through the conduit.
Yeah.
That is a common practice. Well, what they did in this one, this is where you're dealing with these wiring methods and materials that are under your roof decking, and you have your main requirements there, and then they added an exception 3, and they said where you have these wiring methods and materials that they are permitted to be installed in these concealed locations where they're encased in concrete not less than 2 inches thick. Okay.
Yeah, and we had a pretty spirited argument over that. That's actually going into myth of the week too. So if you have something that's encased in 2 inches of concrete, does that mean you have 2 inch spacing between the surface, between that wiring method and the,
It'd be more than that because of it depends, because where you're going through on the ridge,
yeah, but what I'm basically saying is, so if you look at that image that you have on the top right hand of your screen,
yeah,
just imagine if you had 2 inches of concrete poured on top of that.
Yeah.
Well, your wiring method below can be right on the surface of that because you're you basically have 2 inches of concrete above it, so that's protected. But then you have it encased in 2 inches of concrete.
Yeah.
So now you get into the argument: would you have to have, you know, 4 inches of concrete for an inch and a half pipe to have 2 inches encasement on each side? To me, honestly, the way I look at it, if you put that conduit right on that roof decking and you pour 2 inches of concrete on it, you're good to go.
I
That's
think
that's
so too.
encased in 2 inches of concrete.
I think so too.
So
And they also will make reference there, and they're going to refer you to 314.29, and they'll talk about where you have the boxes and conduit bodies. And they'll tell you when you're going to install them per exception 3, they're going to tell you that you need to look at 314.29. And that's where they get in and they talk about this, because you could actually look at this and you got different size boxes that they're going to reference over there. So they'll talk about
True.
boxes that are 3 or say 3, but 100 inches or less in size. And then they got the ones that are over 100. So they realize you got problems there. Then they talk about the conduit bodies and talking about the openings for those shall not be smaller than the outer walls of the conduit body. And there's requirements over there that you're going to have to look at. And they basically just tell you that those openings can't be smaller than the outer walls of the boxes is basically what they're getting into.
True.
So
True.
those
I agree with
are
that.
things that you need to look at also that people wouldn't take into consideration. All right.
Agreed.
Then they had 300.24. And when you get over and you look at this one, this is where you're going to get in to the bins. And all they did is basically put it over here in chapter 3. And this is your general requirements, of course, for your wiring methods and materials. And they talk about the total degree of bends. And they tell you that in any single run between pull points and all that, you can't exceed what? 360 degrees. So a lot of that information used to be in a lot of individual articles.
Yeah, we got into it a little bit with the old Russ LeBlanc thing, because I think this was Russ LeBlanc's public input that passed. And, I just don't really think it was really that necessary, because what they were trying to say was that you could do 3 quarter bends with RMC and then 3 quarter bends with EMT, and per the code, it's technically legal. And I disagree with that take. I don't think that was correct. I think that's somebody misinterpreting the code.
Well, the way I sort of look at it is, because we did this when I was at NFPA, and we had show going with different type of wiring methods and stuff. And we basically showed as long as you didn't exceed 360 degrees between bends, you were fine. And we showed going into different type of wiring methods to do it. And I actually drew an illustration to sort of emphasize this, but I showed an example where I was going from building to building, and I came out of the building, and I came down with rigid, and then I hit schedule 80 going through the ground, and then turned up, and then I hit rigid coming up from there. So I had 2 90s in there. And of course, where I was going through the building on the first one, I had a conduit that was there that went through the wall. And then I showed them going to this building, and then I ran it along the surface, and I started changing wiring methods, and I was showing where they took and went straight over and was hitting a piece of equipment there with flexible metal or liquid type. And
Okay.
I said, now look at that. I said, I came up, I turned here, I got 2 90s, and I got up the wall, and then I turned, went down with another 90, and then I got over there, and then I just had it there, and then I had the flexible connection there. And I said, I didn't exceed 360. And
Yeah,
they were
that's
like, that's pretty
that's
cool. I've never seen, but I could see where they would do something like that.
yeah. I mean, I think it's like interesting when guys are sitting there counting 90s on like seal tight. I just
hmm
don't see you really running like liquid tight that far that you would exceed 490s. You know, like
Well, I
I,
wouldn't have
I
done that because I just had it where it turned down to the equipment. But
yeah,
the thing was, if you had flexible on the end, even if I'd have turned a 90 and another 90 to it, I still would have been able to get it through because I would have pulled all the wire over there and I'd have had the access there. And then from there, I would have just fished it through the liquid tied and just, tightened it up and everything, hooked it up. You wouldn't have had no problem with it. And I've
yeah,
seen stuff like that where it was a little over 360, but they didn't have any problem because they pulled access. And I was trying to remember the name of the building. I actually saw they went out to another structure and they did something sort of similar. And I looked at it and I said, well, I know you went over 360. And I said, but there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why anybody would get, as an inspector, you would get, I could have said, yeah, you need to put a box there. You know what I mean? Then come down to it. But there wasn't anything really that was causing any problem. And he said, yeah, he goes, the wire pulled in perfectly fine. He goes, we pulled it all the way here, got a whole bunch of access, and we fished it through and hooked it up. I was like,
yeah. It was funny. I actually did a post one time where I said that I had 420 degrees of bends, and I was like,
mm-hmm.
the inspector busted me, and it was really funny. Everyone's like, "Well, I've been busted for 420 before, but not on bends." It was pretty funny.
Well, it's things that you run into, and especially when you've been a inspector, and
True.
you get to go out and you see all kinds of things, and those are things that I've run into, and I'll say, yeah, I've seen this. I didn't give them any problem with it.
Sure.
So now this is pretty good because this is where you're going to get in and you're going to look at Article 305, and 305 is going to deal with the general requirements for your wiring methods and materials for systems over 1,000 volts, and you're going to see a lot of the same type of information. Now, a lot of it will change because you'll get into MV cables and things like that, but they're still going to list, like if you go over and look at your voltage limitations for your wiring methods, they're going to tell you what's permitted in table 305.12a, and you're going to see a lot of the same stuff in there. You'll have like intermediate, rigid, PVC, and all that. But when you get over here, then they start looking at getting into the MV cable, your MV cable joints and terminations. And they also get into the non-metallic underground conduit with conductors. That's at NUCCC. And then they also have the HDPE where you got your high density polyethylene conduits. And
That stuff we call out in the field, we call that fiber duct.
fiber duct. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you get into your temperature, and it'll tell you the same things. It'll tell you that no conductor is permitted to be used in a manner that its operating temperature exceeds what that designated for whatever type of insulated conductor you're using.
Right.
Okay, so they get into a lot of the exact same things there. So we just and we didn't do every section here. We just did a few to highlight a couple of things, and then some of them we did to show you how stupid it is because you're not going to see this type of installation. But one of the things we also did, I did draw to give you an idea of the insulation characters and everything, what that type MV cable looks like. Because there's going to be a lot of apprentices and some electricians out there that have never worked with this MV cable, and that gives you an idea of what it looks like.
Yeah, and what you're gonna have between me and King James is we've had extensive experience in the actual field, and we've actually never seen a lot of this stuff that they're referencing that needs in this code change. So you're talking 50 years of electrical experience where we never seen this. We never
Yeah,
seen this happen. So why does the code need to change it? It's
that
bizarre,
is
but
right.
you
I
know,
mean, some of it is ridiculous, and
yeah,
uh, but some of it we kept in here that we're showing because you got the exact same type thing, but uh, we'll show some of it. This is important because this is something you'll see that you'll also see in Article 300. And like this one, this is 305.13. This is going to deal with your conductors, and it talks about where you have conductors of the same circuit. And this is where you have, it'll go down and it'll do a reference. You'll have B1 through 3, but it'll talk about parallel installations and also your grounding and bonding conductors. And what's going to be interesting when you look at that, it's going to refer you back to the same type of sections. So like say if I was dealing with cable trays, it'll refer you to Article 392. If I'm dealing with my equipment grounding, it refers you to where? 250.122. You see what I'm
true.
saying? So
Yes,
you get that, and then it'll also come down and it'll talk about where you have conductors of different systems.
true.
Okay. And they're going to give you a lot to look at there. And they're going to say, where you have these conductors uh, for these circuits rated over 1,000 volts, they're going to tell you conductors of different systems. They're going to tell you they are not permitted to occupy the same equipment, wiring enclosure, cable, or raceway. All right. And then it
True.
says you can't do that unless otherwise permitted. And they'll give you 4 requirements here, and they'll say where it's contained within individual wiring enclosures. Okay, that's where you got your primary leads of your electric discharge lamp ballasts. They'll go in and they'll tell you that it's permitted to occupy the same luminaire, sign, or outline lighting. So naturally, you're going to have to tie that in with Article 600, because that's where you pick up your electric discharge lighting and stuff for your signs. And
Yeah,
uh,
and like a lot of that technology is just being phased out so hard now.
oh
And
yeah,
I think that's what disappointed me so much about the 2026. And I guess maybe I should blame myself because I should be able to go in and see like where this stuff is garbage and just like go in and try to change it. But I think they're kind of being a little bit of dinosaurs trying to hang on to some of this old technology like requirements. And
well
it's just
they
making a bunch of boat anchor references in there.
well the reason they have to, and I understand because of some of your older plants and stuff. Like here's a good example of one. Let's say you take some of your you could have different voltage ratings like in motors.
Hmm.
That's good. Switch gear, switchboard, control assemblies, transformers, any type of equipment that's similar to that, they're going to list that there also. So they're going to tell
True.
you that when you're looking at this, depending on the type of enclosure and everything, and you're getting into this over 1,000 volts that can be mixed with the other different voltage, there has to be certain reasons behind it. So I do agree with what they're putting in here. And it's always been in the code. The only difference is it's now been moved Article 305 instead of being in one part.
Well, I was
Okay.
basically referring to like your comment about the 600 with the electric discharge sign. Like I don't know, like they don't really do that too much.
Okay. Now this is interesting here, and this is a good example of something that's stupid. Okay, because this goes into protection against physical damage. And I don't think you're going to see something that's going through that's over 1,000 volts that's going to be in board holes, or you got notches in wood, or you got raceways parallel to framing members or furring strips. And
True. I
that
agree 100% with
yeah,
that.
they even have where you have raceways installed in shallow grooves. I don't think you're going to see that.
No.
I just don't believe it. But this is a good example of something that's in there. I eventually think this may be phased out. And I think if they happen to accidentally run into something like this, which I doubt, there would be a reference back over to Article 300 apply those requirements.
Yeah, I mean, to me, honestly, in my opinion, that illustration, it's a really good illustration that you have there. But in that illustration, that cable would not fit in the area where that applies to.
Hell no,
Like
it wouldn't.
if you needed it, like it would take up the whole entire stud,
I know
you
it would.
know. And it's just so dumb because why would you even do that anyway? Just run on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I was like, well, that's what they're telling you. So we're giving you an example of something
yeah,
there to look at.
that's ridiculous.
And this is just tying in. We're showing it's the same change. It's in 305.14, but we're just showing you different type of installations here that you would normally see in a residential area for a wiring method that's not over 1,000 volts. But this would be the type of illustration you would see in our publications for the people who are out there working and using it. And one of the things you'll notice that we put in this, and because it was a big change that took place, is showing where they're getting out and they're using cable ties.
Yeah.
So we took a change that was there and sort of tied it in. And then this is the exact same thing, the same requirements that we looked at earlier for exception 3. This in here is where they're talking that it could be run under metal corrugated roofing. And I agree with this right here. You could actually see this. So we took the same illustration basically, and we just showed some of the requirements here of what you would be required here, and put a few notes in here that you need to look at and worry about the spacing and all of this and the 2 inches of concrete.
Yeah, so we used to always, back in the day, we used to always run an output hi-hat.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, man, nothing's ever gonna, like, there's no way a screw's gonna go through that.
It sure does.
And we got called out to a job, and they wanted us to come see if the roofers did any damage because they had some circuits that went out.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one of them, they got it like 4 times, the same conduit.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. I was like, okay, I guess them screws just do right, go buzz right through EMT.
Yeah, and look here, you got where you can put it in shallow grooves. I don't know how shallow is that. It's going to be more than a shallow groove.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous.
When I was looking, I was like, that makes no freaking sense at all. But we went ahead, we put it together, because it was there in the 2026. So we have to show you exactly what the requirements are. So sure. Now the next one you have is 15G. And when you pick this up, and I agree with this gets into your earth movement and stuff.
Right.
So they just tell you where you have direct buried conductors, raceways, cables, anything like that. And it's subject to any type of movement, and that's by settlement, frost, anything like that. They'll tell you there that those have to be arranged so it prevents damage to the enclosed conductors or the equipment that's connected to the raceways. Okay.
True.
So they'll have an informational note in there, and what they're going to talk about is what they call S loops. And that's where you have your underground burial cables or conductors. And what that gets into, that's where you have raceway transitions. So in other words, right. You could have like, say, an expansion fitting that's in the raceway riser to the fixed equipment. And then you're taken and you have provisions are put in place for the flexible connections to the equipment. And that's due to the settlement of the frost that's there. You'll get like a variation there where it moves and stuff, and that's why they would take and use some flexible connection from an expansion fitting.
True, and I agree with that. As everybody knows, I work out at DIA, and there's a lot of expansion out there. Like, I need to send you some pictures, James. Like, dude, there's like electric room doors that will never open ever again. Like the concrete just like heaved, and the
Mm-hmm.
door was like halfway open, and it just heaved into the door, and you can't budge it. It's froze in place.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of like heaving earth movement out there. And I don't think that they really had any kind of this in there. So that is kind of like, I agree with you on this one, that is an important thing that you can't just guarantee that the earth's not going to move.
that's right. And that's that. They call them S loops, but basically what it is, it's an expansion fitting, and you're
Yeah.
you're you're putting a flexible connection in there, and that's why we put a few things in here and we cover, because you'll notice we'll throw one in here every now and then, just something that we think's ridiculous, but there's other things in here we're covering certain things. You notice we're not covering everything, and the
Right.
reason we're not doing that is because some of these that we're covering, these are actually important things when you're dealing with over 1,000 votes. So when you look at 30516 here, one of the things that you have to take in consideration, just like if it was low voltage, you got to provide protection against corrosion and deterioration. And they'll talk about your ferrous metal equipment in A, and then they'll come down and they tell you what are some of the things to look at there. You could have protection from corrosion by using enamel. You could use organic type coatings on your boxes and cabinets. And then you got to look at when you're in concrete or in direct contact with the earth, there's certain things there. And then they'll come down, pick up B after that, and they'll talk about, well, what if you have aluminum and metal equipment? So there, and then you get the next one, and then they'll go into C, and they'll talk about your non-metallic equipment and talking about if it's exposed to sunlight, you got chemical exposures, and then they talk about your indoor wet locations and things you have to do for it. And that would be like if you're in an indoor wet location where you have say it's a dairy processing facility, it could be a cannery, it could be a laundry, any type of indoor locations that are like it. I consider also an indoor location like where you're going through a car wash.
Yeah.
So those are things that we look at, but they just tell you other indoor type wet locations, and that's what we're getting into here when I look at my ferrous metal equipment and you're inside and looking at the type of plant you're in and you have that type of exposure. And then they'll talk about the aluminum equipment here also. So
Nice.
this is where we just sort of tied all those in, and we said those are things that you actually need to look at. Now there will be a few more next week that I'll finish up 305, but people, this is why you've got to have a good illustrated code change publication that goes through and pulls out certain things that you need to pay attention to. I've gone and looked at the others out there, they're not showing you this stuff. So, and what we try to do, because, we've been doing this a long, long time. And when we're looking at things and there's new articles and stuff, you'll notice we don't cover every little thing that's in that new article. But if we're pulling certain things out in certain sections, those are important to that new thing, even though some of the rest of it may be fluff and it's stupid to even really discuss it. But we did put one in there to sort of show you one that was stupid where you're running through wood studs and stuff like that, and shallow grooves and all that crap. We thought that was about as ridiculous as you could get.
Well, yeah. And the one thing is that anytime you have like those kind of code changes, um, it's funny to laugh at in like 2026, but it's already too late to change it in 2029 because the public input stage is already
Yeah, but for
stopped.
something like that, the committee can come in and do referrals back to 300 because it's an organizational change.
True.
and they can do something. I've been on those committees and panels. I've seen it all. One of the where I learned probably more than anything about the code making panels and stuff is when they got Dad to take over the hazardous because it was so screwed up, and all these proposals and everything were coming in, and I had to go in and correlate everything together. And basically, I put them together, and we had task groups that were put together to look at certain parts of everything. And I had to go in and correlate all that for them. So when we got ready to go before the meeting we were going to do and everything, everybody had the information there to present. And we just took everything that was there with some changes that needed to be made. And that's how it all got put together. I learned so much from that. It was
Nice.
really a learning experience.
And that's the thing, like I learned how to like really stir up a bunch of chaos.
Hey, I've been in those co-make panels where people have sent stuff in and basically saying, you're full of crap, and you've got to go in and look at it. And one of the things that a lot of people will see these days, back then, the code-making panel, they literally gave you a substantiation and told you why they didn't agree with it. Now you got these new code panel members and stuff, and they use these rules. This doesn't provide clarity and usability. In other words, they don't want to answer.
Had to get it in for you, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that's the whole thing was, I think I put them in a box when I was like, just add outlet to individual branch circuit.
Try it.
Why can't you do that? Like to me, it was simple because by their substantiation, they should have been able to say that an individual branch circuit connects to one outlet that utilization equipment connects to.
Try it.
I don't see how it's any more plain as day that's exactly what they've been saying. And then they're like, oh, that would limit it to one outlet. Yep. And then you're like, oh, okay. How about we do it to outlet or outlets? And then they're like, no, it has to be limited to one outlet.
That's right.
So.
Use the code as a whole. And anybody that's watched us for 5 years now, we've been saying the same thing. We've been consistent the whole time.
Yes, sir. And I actually prove it on my Willie Jackerson Experiment podcast, where first interview I had King James on, and we were talking about GFCI protection. We're still saying the same exact thing back then 5 years ago that we're saying today. So it was really cool to go back and kind of look at that. If you guys check it out, it's my top 5 podcasts of all time, and it's still top 5. It's still up there at 5 years ago. And I look back at like all those podcasts from 5 years ago. They're all still up there. They're all still high ranked, and it was fun. We were all just having fun and just doing this weekly thing. But one of the things that we do weekly, every week, that's always fun, is the tool of the week. Is that our next?
That's it. Let me cue it.
All right.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by Electricians Only Tool Review and Nipex Tradesman.
So this week, I saw that the last time we did one, it was a DeWalt going Milwaukee this week. So this is really cool, like for you guys out there that want to go shred it and do, like get your tool belt on and then just have like all your tools that you just haul out there. This is really cool. I like doing this. I like this kind of setup, kind of a tandem approach, because you don't have to carry like all your tools in your tool pouch. And, like here comes Daniel in with these little silly comments. Yeah, Bill, we need you to be more patient and teach the apprentices. Yeah, see, more patient. Daniel, I've been patient as possible, like even my apprentice is like, man, thanks for being so patient. What was that we're doing again? But it's so fun. It's so fun being patient, Daniel. But Daniel knows they would send us out guys, and then we'd be like, dude, these guys don't know anything, and they're like, yeah, it's your job to teach them. It's like, what? I got to teach all these guys? Like, dang. But this is really awesome that I like this Milwaukee setup. This seems like a really good belt system, and like I say, usually I only use tool belts when I'm like making up like a bunch of boxes or I'm doing like a bunch of stuff of the same thing. Then I'll toss on my belt. But then otherwise, my belt would be in the backpack, and then all my tools would be in the backpack. Then I'd just be using what I need, and then until I need to, put on the put on the bags and get some stuff done. So usually I use the bags if you're doing like a lot of production, and then if we're doing like kind of an industrial setting and we're out there just kind of roaming around getting stuff done, then I use the backpack. The nice part about these backpacks that's really cool, I've been noticing a lot, is you can lock them up and you can just leave them on the job. And it depends on the job because people could just jack your backpack. But like some of the jobs that we've been on, they're pretty safe. Like I'd say DIA, I don't think anybody's gonna, take off with your backpack at DIA. There's a lot of trades out there, a lot of different stuff going on. I don't know that I would make like a crime of opportunity anywhere, but there's a lot of cameras at DIA, so I don't see that I would be too worried about it. But that is an option with these that you can lock your backpack up. So you just take your tool bags, all your tools in it, stuff it in your backpack, then lock that baby up. And typically nobody's going to mess around with backpacks. The reason I started getting into backpacks, King James, is because of like when we're out in industrial. And a lot of times, like, you'd leave your backpack out in industrial, didn't matter where, and nobody'd touch it. It's not really like the type of industry where people are running around stealing tools. But that's the reason I kind of like the backpack, because if you picture that, if you have your tool belt just kind of like sitting somewhere, you have that opportunity. It's actually happened to me downtown Denver one time. We dropped our bags and we went to go grab break, and some guy just reached in, grabbed a handful out of my pouch, grabbed a handful out of another guy's pouch, and went over to McDonald's selling our tools. And so to me, that's that kind of that crime of opportunity. If that would have been the same thing as us just taking our tool pouch and tossing in that backpack, I don't think that maybe that guy would have grabbed our backpack. But we actually had him on camera, and I don't think he would have done it. I think the only reason he just took a handful out of both our tool pouches is because he could real quick while he's walking by. And so we wanted to kind of eliminate that crime of opportunity and just kind of get your tools home safe, get you home safe, and especially get your tools home safe. So I kind of like this system. I think it's like a little bit over $100, which I thought was like, yeah, that's not bad. Usually I can't remember exactly. I maybe $200, but usually you're gonna spend around, you're gonna spend over 100 probably on that backpack alone. So I didn't think that was too bad of a price either. But I really like the new tools that they're coming out with, and I think they're really practical because King James still has his tool belt hanging on his wall, right behind his studio there. And, like I say, I'm trying to get him to ditch that old thing and come get a new Milwaukee and tool that baby back up. And you just run out there. You're gonna be a fanboy out there with that running red.
What I got a question. What brand pouch do you think I have?
That's a good one. And I don't even know what they had back in 1800.
It's actually a Klein.
Yeah, I was gonna say my first instinct was Klein, but I didn't want to, I didn't know what they had before Klein.
I can tell you my setup. I have Klein pouch. All my screwdrivers are Klein, and my everything but my I have channel locks. That's the brand channel locks, and all my cutters, needle nose, everything, they're all Klein too. The tape measure I have is a Stanley. I was trying to think. All my nut drivers and everything, I have them. They're actually in a plastic pouch that come with. That was all Klein. I was trying to think if I have anything else that's different. Just channel locks. I think everything else pretty much Klein, other than my tape measure.
Yeah,
And
my channel locks are channel lock brand too.
mhm.
I use Vice Grip. I have like some Vice Grip stuff that I do. I have like that's one of my little systems I do is I take a Vice Grip, then I can like Vice Grip a washer, then I can unibit it a little bigger if I need to.
Oh
Um,
wait, I did do an upgrade. I forgot. I did one upgrade. My voltage tester that I had was ideal, and now I have a fluke that has all the stuff. I did do an upgrade on that.
yeah, yeah, I like the Fluke. I think that's pretty much the way to go with testing. But like I say, it's weird because does your tool belt have a voltage tester pouch?
No.
See, my original tool belt, I had a voltage tester pouch, and
Yeah.
that was cool. I liked it, you know. So that's the one thing I would say this possibly could be missing. I do like the voltage tester pouch. That's really cool
See, that's
because
cool when you talk about these different things like this and you show the things that you can get now and everything. But what was interesting about my pouch, every one of the tools and everything had a spot that it went in. You had for your different screwdrivers and everything, there was a spot for it to go. For your like, see, I look at this, it's hard for me to tell because it's black, but uh let me look, let me increase this. See, yeah, see, on the outside of the pouch, you had three spots there on the very outside of the pouch, and that was for your Klein's needle nose and dikes. They
yep.
they were on the outside right there. So still have, and then everything that was inside was set up was for your channel locks and your different type of screwdrivers that you use continuously, and the main screwdrivers that you use, which was your flathead and Phillips, they were on the side.
So I always take my channel locks. My channel locks would always be hanging off the side. So I have two sets of channel locks, and I take both my sets of channel locks and they go in the same hole on the side. And then I got my strippers on the outside, in the outside, most outside one. Then I got Lyman's, Dykes, and my needle nose. And then as I work back, then I start doing all my other stuff like nut drivers. And usually, what I do, the reason I like this setup is because I'll just keep all my nut drivers in the backpack. And then I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to be using 7/16 and I'll be using 9/16.
It's
And so I'll just
interesting.
load
You
up those two nut drivers. I'll leave all my nut drivers in the backpack, and then I'll just load up the belt and start going to town.
you brought something up. I think it was my third year when we used to strip wire. You either did it with a knife or you would take your dikes and sort of strip it that way. And I think it was my third year they come up with the wire strippers. I'm trying to remember. I think it went up to a number 10 at that time. And I have a pair of Ideal that are in my bag that are wire strippers. I do have. That's one thing. Klein did not have that at the time.
So actually, Klein did come out with a pretty decent pair of strippers. That's what I'm rocking right now. And I actually get the white handle reflex, and the white handle reflex Klein. Actually, I'll do the white handle reflex next week, so you can get some new strippers up in your bag. But
Man, I don't do that anymore. I ain't getting no, I'm good with what I have. I don't even use it now. The
the
only, I'll tell you, it's like I've kept my bag and everything, and I have it hung up. I mean, I've took care of the tools. I oiled them and all that stuff, and then I have a Klein bag that I keep all my strippers and testers and all of that in. If I have to go out on the job to look at, I've got all that set up, and I kept every one of my tools, everything I have are in perfect shape. I've taken care of them. I mean,
nice.
they're just as good as any new ones you'll get. And I treat it sort of like my first set of golf clubs I ever bought.
Yeah,
And I have them sitting in my room in there. I had them, sent them in. The first ones I bought were the Cleveland Black Beauties. They were blades. And I sent them in, had them refinished and everything, because it was the first set. I spent quite a bit of money on some golf clubs. And they just sat in there. They look brand new, and I don't even play with them. But I kept them because it was the first set I bought, just like my tools. That was my big first set that I bought, and
nice.
I took care of them.
But yeah, anyway, the Klein reflex white handle, the
Mm-hmm.
stripper, the largest stripper part goes up to number 8, and I love that. Like to me, it's so awesome because I can strip number 6, I can strip number 4, I can strip anything. All you do is you just crimp it down,
Just a
score
little
it,
internment
rip
score.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I love them, and like I say, I rarely break out my knife when I got my strippers on me.
You
But
know, I went over this probably about a couple months ago. My friend, he was redoing his bathroom, asked if I come in and wire it for him and everything. That's the first time I put my tools on, probably 15 years. And I went over
right,
there, and I forgot I'd taken out my strippers, and they were in the bag, and I just took my tool pouch over there, and I grabbed my dikes, and I would just go up there and just get scored a little bit and just pop it off and strip it and everything. It was just
yeah,
number 14, number 12. And
yeah,
he was sitting there, he goes, "Why don't you use a wire stripper?" I said, hell, I said, I'm an old school. I said,
yeah,
this is the way we started. This is the way you did it.
100%. But like I say, that was a really good, for some of you young apprentices, if you're getting ready to get started and stuff, that's a good tool pouch setup. I
Mhm.
really liked it. It looks comfortable, and like I say, I do these tool reviews just probably to get guys interested in the products, and not necessarily like say what's the best or anything like that, but it's just if I was like just starting brand new in the trade, I would be looking at something like that, some Milwaukee thing like that, and then you get like the old school cats like King James over there being like, "Where'd you get that, boy?" You know,
You
and
know,
he'd be liking it. He'd be like, "Man, I don't know, man. You want to trade for my Klein?" So you
I,
never know,
I
never know.
will say this, and see, when I look at that tool pouch right there, let me go back. When you look at it, there's something I'm going to point out that a lot of people wouldn't give much thought about, but and I can tell you, it does make a difference. But when I had my first, even the one I still have today, you look at the belt and strap and the support you have around it. When I was coming through it, that belt that I have even today, it's nowhere close to that being that wide or that thick. It was,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, way more comfortable.
yeah, and see, y'all having these, you've got the double uh, clips there for when you pull it around to tighten it up and everything. We only had one, and
Yeah,
it was like a belt. I mean, it
yeah.
wasn't. I mean, it was a little bit thicker than a normal belt because of the weight and stuff. But I'm telling you, it would eat into your sides and stuff.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is a meter pouch. I always loved having a meter pouch, and it was like I would go grab my tools, and then basically all I'd use is basically my meter pouch a lot, and my tools would just sit on the ground. I wouldn't even have my tools on. I'd just grab the meter, and then I had a place to throw my meter back in, and then sometimes you have to get up in the air with your tools on with your meter, but not very much most of the time. But it was just cool, just a cool thing to have, like your meter, like always at that one spot.
Yeah,
I like that about on my tool belt. And
that's cool.
anytime you had to throw the tools on and you're up in the air, you're on a lift, you had a question about something. Well, you can answer it with your meter. It's right there.
That's right. Yeah,
So
that's cool. Good
yeah,
tool update.
no, and I like kind of getting those juices flowing with King James too, because now when I do a stripper one, he won't have as much input because he doesn't even care. He doesn't even want it. He's just like, just use your dang dikes, bro.
Shit, I'm about to be 6'3". I ain't doing that shit anymore.
There you go. Right on. No, that's pretty awesome. I'm hoping that I finally get you. I think I might have caught you slipping. Thought you had some time off, and we'll see. I might have had you slipping on the MEYERS machine. Is that where we're at?
Yep, let's roll it.
All right.
For years, man tried to create artificial intelligence. On this segment, we find out, is AI smarter than King James?
So the one thing that I love about doing this segment is I don't think I'm gonna be catching ChatGPT slipping anymore. I'm probably not gonna be catching you slipping anymore, but I still want to kind of push it, and there's little trigger things in there that could make this a different answer. And I'm pretty sure you're gonna nail it, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of a good question this week.
If I'm not mistaken, it should be like 450.21 A's where you start off on dry transformers. And I think it's the very first one, A, but if I'm not mistaken, I think this is 12 inches. So
Okay.
I'm going to go with 12 inches. So let me go over and ask ChatGPT, and then I'll go over and look it up.
Okay.
Let's see what
I'm thinking ChatGPT is going to nail it. It's been nailing a lot of them lately, so it's getting smarter, but you never know. The multiple choice kind of trips it up.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what it says. All right. Here we go. 12 inches. And it said 450.21 A. So let me go over and give me a second. I've got to go over and pull up the NEC here real quick. Let me go over here. Let's see. So, true. All right.
That's the one thing that has impressed me since we started doing MEYERS Machine is that you could tell that ChatGPT is like, man, I'm not getting it wrong again. Like it's like embarrassed to get it wrong when King James didn't correct it.
All right. So I'm at 450. I'm going to go down here 21. Look at A. Yep, 12 inches. All right. I will tell ChatGPT it's getting better, and I'm proud of him.
There you go. Don't you dare assume gender. It's a them. You're proud of them.
Yeah. You are finally keeping up with King James, who once again answered correctly on the quiz of the week for the High Voltage Live podcast, the best podcast in the electrical industry.
Nice. You got it.
The correct section was 450 point.
It was jumping the rest. Jumping all the rest, right? Like the Duke boys.
Great work, Chat GPT. Please place in the master log. All right.
Oh, dude.
What it says.
That master log's getting good now, man.
Yeah, because we keep doing it. Yep, put it in the master log. And respect to King James and the High Voltage Live podcast quiz of the week streak.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's probably like 3 in a row, I think. Like it's been a while since got one wrong, so that's why I was like, oh man, I don't know.
It's doing better. Yeah,
like the thing is that one's kind of controversial because you go off the manufacturer instructions, you know, like the code says 12 inches and then all these, like a lot of times what happens, and you know, this is a big shout out to a lot of fresh foremen out there. Don't just go off the code and say, oh man, we got 12 inches, like in a meeting, like when you're in the meeting with the GC. Go read the manufacturer instructions, because I've seen ones. We were just talking about this, me and one of the other journeymen. We've seen them where it says 0 inches, you know?
Yeah.
And so that would be one of the exceptions, and that's why I kind of put in there that this is without no exceptions, you know, coming into play. But a lot of times where those exceptions come into play is the manufacturer instructions. That's how they get an exception to the code. And so it's funny because we were standing there one day and I said, there was this fire alarm device. It was probably like 10 foot. It was high. It was way up there, you know? And it's weird at the airport because you don't know what they were originally doing, like with the original design. Like they might have thought there was a floor, and then I don't know, like when they were doing the original rough-in, but then they had to have a device there, so they just trimmed it out, and it's at 10 foot. And I was like, do you know why that would be a code violation under NFPA 72? And my, one of the guys at work's like, no, what the code? And I was like, no, manufacturer instructions. Manufacturer instructions say do not mount over 96 inches. So, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's because of the visual of if you have an alarm and that thing's flashing, it's only going to be visible at that 96 inch range. If you go higher than that, nobody's going to see it. It's going to go over their head. They're not even going to see it. So, you know, and he was just like, yeah, that's right. And I was saying, you know what? There's a lot of places in the code, especially fire alarm code, where it's just manufacturer instructions. You know, dude, a lot of those companies, like, it's what's crazy about fire alarm. A lot of those companies are like out of business. Like they had to like take other companies to like take them over and then, you know, still produce the same stuff we've been getting. And what did they do? They just had to copy their manufacturer instructions and then send them out as their manufacturer instructions, you know? And then when you go in there at NFPA 72 and you're like, well, I don't know what to do with this, you know, company that's out of business. I don't know what to do. It's all referred to manufacturer instructions. Well, where do I get manufacturer instructions? Go look at the company that bought them. Yeah. And then look at their manufacturer instructions. And then they'll give you instructions on how to deal with that old device that is not even, it's a company that's not even made anymore. But they adopted their manufacturer instructions from back then. They bought all their patents. They bought all their stuff. They still create the same device, but it's a different name now. And then you have to go refer to their manufacturer instructions for that device that they, you know, grandfathered in basically, you know. So there's a lot of tricky stuff with fire alarm where you have to just refer to manufacturer instructions. Well, I don't know where to get that. Well, you better figure it out, you know. So that's kind of where we have been harping on that. They're saying, oh, well, you know, the manufacturer instructions can't create a code violation. Well, how does the code even know it's a violation without the manufacturer instructions? You know, you got to refer to the manufacturer instructions first. You're not going to the code first. You know, it's ridiculous. Some of the stuff they say, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
So what do we go on, Willie Quiz?
Willie Quiz it is.
Whoop whoop. All right. So this is really awesome. I think I might get King James this week. We'll see. Got Daniel in the house, so he's not going to be too easy.
Words, huh?
It's
Okay.
totally easy quiz. Yeah, dude. Daniel noticed, man, like when we were at the Avs game the other day, he's like, man, Billy, you're really ripped, bro. I was like, yeah, thanks, man, you know. But yeah, so appreciate you noticing that, Daniel. I've been working out. So question number 1, which bird can rotate its head up to about 270 degrees? Is it A, the bald eagle? Is it B, the great horned owl? Is it C, the northern cardinal? Is it D, the American crow? Or E, the St. Louis cardinal? Good luck, everyone.
Well, I thought about this for a second, and I was thinking, I don't know specific ones, but I know owls turn their head quite a bit. An owl can, but I don't know if it's great horn, but just because I know owls can turn their heads a long ways, I'll go with an owl.
All right, so you are going to copy Daniel. Daniel comes out with B. And let's see how you guys did. We have one correct answer already, so you guys are correct. It is a great horned owl. Question number 2. Which of these birds is actually not a true woodpecker? Is it A, the brown creeper? Is it B, the pileated woodpecker? Is it C, the red-tailed woodpecker? Is it D, the yellow-bellied sapsucker? Or E, the northern flicker? Good luck, everyone.
I would assume B, C, and D are probably going to be some type of woodpecker. I don't know what a northern flicker is. I've heard of a brown creeper before. It's A or E, I would assume. Let me flip on this. Heads for brown creeper. It looks like I'm going brown creeper.
Ooh, that is a good one. And my answers are almost always A as the correct answer. Daniel goes E with the northern flicker.
Well, those were my two choices.
Daniel takes the lead with the northern flicker. Oh, God. King James with the brown creeper. All
It
right.
was a guess.
Which bird is known for anting, rubbing ants on its feathers? Is it A, a blue jay? Is it B, American robin? Is it C, common grakey? D, the house sparrow? Or E, the brown creeper? Maybe King James will pick that one again. Good luck, everyone.
I think I know this one. I remember seeing something on this before, and because we have a few of them down here in Texas, you'll see them. Well, you don't see as many as you used to, but I remember something about this, and it was we were being taught this in Boy Scouts. And if I'm not mistaken, I
Okay.
know what I'm talking about. I think it's a blue jay.
Okay. Think it's a blue jay. So looks like you're going to copy Daniel.
Oh, wow.
So Daniel's guessing blue jay too. So let's see how he did. The answer is blue jay. So
Yeah.
Daniel still has a slight edge over King James. And remember, if Daniel gets tied, we have a really good tiebreaker tonight. All right. Which North American bird has the fastest cruising flight speed? Cruising flight speed. Is it A, the peregrine falcon, B, the golden eagle, C, the turkey vulture, D, the snowy owl, or E, the red-breasted merganser? Good luck, everyone.
You know, I sort of remember something about this one time. We had a thing where we were talking about, and birds came in, and I was trying to remember. I think you asked this question one time before, something similar to it.
Maybe.
And for some reason, I remember something because I think I had guessed a peregrine falcon, and it wasn't right. And I think it was a red-breasted merganser. I'm gonna go with E. For some reason, that I just sort of remember something about this.
So Daniel is going A, peregrine falcon.
Okay.
So let's see. We got A and E. Looks like A and E is the theme tonight. King James takes the lead,
I knew it.
ties it up. It was the red-breasted merganser. They said that this bird in cruising has actually went faster than jets, because of like it trying to avoid the jets. And I guess they can like speed up like in cruising, like when they're already in flight, because like I guess they're all in like formation kind of, and they are like cutting the wind, and like if they have to get away from like a jet, get out of the way of a jet, like they're been known to do it, and they reach speeds that we will see in the tiebreaker.
You were doing something about speeds and all of that, and this was like one of the questions. This was like 4 years ago or something like that. I remember
It was, yeah. Now you got it, and you remembered it. I switched it up because I was trying to get Daniel, and so we have a tie game going into question number 5. Which bird is known as catching thousands of seeds and remembering many of the locations? Is it A, the black-capped chickadee? Is it B, the Clark's nutcracker? Is it C, the mourning dove? Is it D, the barn swallow? Or is it E, the brown creeper? Good luck, everyone.
Well, this will be an interesting one. I think, well, you're talking about seeds and stuff. I guess with seeds, I guess nuts, say nutcracker. It makes sense. I have no idea. I'll go B.
Right. So you got the Clark's nutcracker. Let's see. Daniel goes with B. So you're gonna copy Daniel. So I guess the only thing we could have is a tie. If you're right. You are both right. We have a tie. So going into the tiebreaker,
All right.
what is the fastest speed from any bird ever recorded in miles per hour?
Well, I guess thinking about it, I would say if you're going as fast, I'd say around 200 and something. I'll just say because you're going in, if they went into a dive, they could speed up. I'll say 230 miles an hour.
230. We have 230 from King James and Daniel. Let's see what Daniel says. King James going 230. And so Daniel's going 250. Is that 250? It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Ridiculous, Daniel. 250 miles an hour. King James gets the win. It's 240 miles an hour. Daniel goes over. So what a good tiebreaker we had. Really good guesses. Really close. I actually have the exact answer right here. I'll just pull it up real quick. It says speeds of over 240 miles an hour. So guess what, Daniel? You don't round up on over 240. So you could have said 241. I would have given you the win on that one because it's over 240.
Be honest, I almost went 250, and I said, "No, I don't want to go over." I actually was contemplating 220.
Yeah.
I said, I was thinking about it. I was thinking, I bet you they could reach up to 250, 260 is what I was thinking, but I didn't want to go over, so I just picked a number.
Dude, that's so fast. That is so fast. I mean, that is like lightning quick, man. I can't believe it.
But you think if they come straight down and they're coming from a high, I mean, I could see them picking up some speed.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know. I've actually driven a car at 140 miles an hour, and that is fast. You know, I mean, it's like there's body panels ready to just rip off. You know, like I couldn't imagine a bird.
You sit there and think about it, and you look at, they showed some videos of hawks coming down from the sky, grabbing something, a fish down there or something, just go down. I mean, they're like quick. Damn, they're all an ass.
Well, congratulations. You are the champ. And I cannot believe how much good luck you've had this year. You almost been exactly opposite from last year. Like, I don't think you won a single one last year. This year, I don't think you lost a single one. So
I've lost a couple, but
yeah, no, but it's just been like almost opposite. Like last year, you won like a few, and then this year you only lost a few. So way to reverse your luck. And pretty awesome. I love doing the quiz. So much fun, and I'll keep trying to improve and get a little better.
it's
And
Daniel's fault. All he had to do was just answer 231.
yeah, yeah, you should have did the old Price is Right, Daniel.
I tried 231.
Yep, would have crushed him. But it's all cool. Daniel's gonna come back. He's studying up, man. He's coming back. He's gonna. We're thinking me and Daniel are gonna go watch the Avs game somewhere tomorrow. So reach out to me, Daniel. We'll go check it out. Sounds like a good time. Go maybe order Twin Peaks or something. Maybe Hooters or Twin Peaks or something. Go watch.
Yeah, good places to go.
Yeah. So, all right, our last one, and congratulations, guy who won on this one.
Oh, shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
Yeah, so this was really awesome. Like when I saw this, I was like, dude, Daniel is like, oh man, I've seen that so many times. Like this is like a common thing. So congratulations, John. We stole your picture off the Wall of Shame, and this is the Wall of Shame of the Week picture. I just cannot believe how much crazy stuff. Like there's like no connector, no bushing, just a bunch of wild conductors coming in there, no raceway. I don't even know what they're doing there. I mean, that was just ridiculous. I mean, to me, it looks great on the outside with the cover on. You pull that cover off.
Yeah.
And I always just crack up. We've done this before if you have to tape wire nuts and stuff, because we always see those handyman maintenance guys taping up the wire nuts, and it's so funny.
You know something I also don't see there? I don't see where they anchored the box to the wall either.
Do you see a ground in there?
No.
I don't see a ground either. So yeah,
there's some extra things wrong in this. But
yeah,
it looks like the only thing supporting that box is the conduit coming down with the connector.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you guys go over and check out the Wall of Shame group and look up John's post there, you can actually kind of look inside the wall, and then it goes back a ways. Like they just have random wild conductors just floating in there.
Yeah.
Like it's not a cable or any kind of cable assembly, no raceway, anything. So that's the whole reason I created the Wall of Shame group, was for stuff like that. So right on, John. Congratulations. He got like 3 likes on it. One of them's mine, and he got featured on our show. So keep putting them up there, people, on the Wall of Shame, and you'll get up on our show. So
yeah.
Really appreciate it.
We see crap like that.
Yeah. But that's how we always end our show, to always make you guys better electricians. Seeing that kind of stuff, you're going to be getting some better ideas on things that you could do to improve, like possibly putting a ground screw in there, maybe running a ground wire and bonding your stuff together, putting raceways into your enclosures, maybe mounting your enclosures, stuff like that. So really awesome that we come to you every week and just have fun, talk to code, show you King James's awesome material and all the stuff he's put together. And we're going to just continue doing it into 2029. So We appreciate everyone. We appreciate all the apprentices that reach out to me and tell me how much they like the myth of the week and different things, different topics. I'll just keep running them. So appreciate it. And like I say, I think you look like you're about ready to hit a pillow. So
I'm tired.
yeah, and like I say, I appreciate you putting together a show. It's always so much fun. And like I say, as where I come from, I always say, always make every day an easy day.
I have no disagreement with that.
Yep. You got an easy day, you got an easy life. So hopefully you guys all have a great Memorial Day weekend. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us for almost 2 hours. Appreciate it. And
We'll see y'all next Thursday.
peace.
Peace.